Hey, what's going on, guys? So this morning I logged into my Instagram, and on my Instagram feed I saw this video. And as you can see, it's Tracy McGrady, and he got a hair transplant in Turkey. For those who don't follow basketball, T-Mac was a great basketball player. He played 15 seasons in the NBA, and he was playing at his all-time best when he was playing for the Orlando Magic, where he averaged over 30 points per game and led the league in scoring on multiple occasions. He is widely regarded as one of the best scorers in NBA history. He started out his career playing for the Toronto Raptors when he was drafted straight out of high school with the 9th overall pick in the 1997 NBA draft. He is 6'8" and is currently 44 years old. So this post really caught my attention because I'm a big basketball fan. Like, I've been playing basketball and watching basketball since I was like 11 years old back in the late 90s. And my favourite basketball players were guys like Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, who else? Vince Carter. You know, those four in particular were like my favourite. I used to watch them all the time. Now, after T-Mac retired, I remember like a few years ago I saw him doing some analyst work for ESPN and some other networks. And I saw that he grew his hair out a little bit, and I saw that his hair was kind of going thin, mainly like around the hairline and mid-scalp. So when I saw this post about him getting a hair transplant, I wasn't really that surprised, but I was pleasantly surprised that he went public about it, because most celebrities do their kind of like cosmetic work in private and they don't really talk about it. I'll just show you some of the comments that I've seen on this post because some of them are quite funny. So one guy wrote, "To be honest, I ain't seen no good results." It's like, if you've not seen any good results from a hair transplant, then you've not been looking hard enough, because there's been plenty of people who have had, you know, really good results from a hair transplant, myself included. If you're new to the channel, if you're seeing this for the first time, I had my hair transplant in Turkey. It wasn't at Now Hair Time, it was at another clinic called Cosmetica in Istanbul in Turkey, and my procedure was around a year and a half ago, or just over a year and a half ago. And I mainly had my hairline done and temples as well, and as you can see, like, my results are really good. Like, I've been really happy with my results. Some of the comments that I've seen from this post that I saw with T-Mac on the Now Hair Time channel, some people saying, oh, you know, it looks good from the front but it never looks good from the back, that's why they never show it. Yeah, I don't know why they don't show the back more often, but I feel like a lot of people do get good results all over, like the hair transplant at the front and even the back as well. Like, I'll just show you mine quickly so you can just have a look at what mine looks like. And as you can see, it hardly looks touched at all. Like, it still looks very good, very normal. And a lot of people's are like that as well. But the reality is, a hair transplant is not 100% guaranteed to work. So some people do get like over harvested, and some people do get like patchiness, like bald patches in the back and stuff like that. So that's one of the drawbacks of getting a hair transplant. Every time you go, you know, you have to understand that you're taking a risk and it's not guaranteed to work. So one of the other comments that I've seen is, y'all need to hit up Derek White ASAP. For those who don't know, Derek White is a basketball player who's playing for the Boston Celtics, and his hairline basically starts like back here. So yeah, he definitely needs a hair transplant ASAP. And then somebody posted underneath that saying, and Cole Anthony and Trae Young. So yeah, Cole Anthony, I would say, definitely needs a hair transplant as well, because he's like receding at the corners. And with Trae Young, I think he has alopecia, so I don't think he's actually losing his hair. I just think he has like what's that disease called? I think he has alopecia areata. So if you have alopecia areata, it's where you get like bald patches in your hair, and basically you can't get a hair transplant with that because a hair transplant will not work. Another comment that I found was quite interesting actually. This guy said, so these guys are very picky with their patients. I tried to apply to them, and each time I did, they denied me. I went to Hiva Clinic and they did a good job. You can try these guys because they're good, but I'm just letting you know what happened to me. So yeah, some clinics do decline potential patients, and one of the main reasons is they basically want the best patients possible. So the ones with like a good density in the donor area, they basically want like the best possible candidates, because the best candidates end up getting the best type of results. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why I ended up getting a good result as well, because I was a really good candidate. I've got thick hair follicles for one, and my density was really good in my donor area. So that's one of the reasons why I got accepted in the clinic that I went to, which was Cosmetica. But yeah, man, some clinics can be quite picky. And I think that's actually a good thing, because oftentimes, like most clinics in Turkey especially, they don't care. They'll just perform a hair transplant on anyone. Like I remember I saw a video of this guy on YouTube who went to Asli Tarkan. I think he was an African guy, and he just wasn't a good candidate for a hair transplant to begin with. And you can tell because he already had naturally like low density in his donor area, even though he had never had a hair transplant before. You know, because everyone has different hair densities. It's just genetics at the end of the day. And so yeah, this guy was a really bad candidate for a hair transplant, but this clinic, Asli Tarkan, still performed the hair transplant, and it ended up being a nightmare for him, because not only did he have poor, like low density in the donor area to begin with, but he scarred very badly as well. I think he had like keloid scars, and on top of that he was like a Norwood 7 as well, so he would have needed like maximum grafts to fill his whole head. So yeah, his hair transplant turned out to be a nightmare. Like he talks about it on his YouTube channel. But yeah, that's the other drawback of a hair transplant, is that not everyone is a good hair transplant candidate. So another comment under this post that I just seen is, why would a rich NBA player go to Turkey when he could just get a hair transplant in the US? And that's a very common question. As you can see, like there's a lot of people, like a lot of rich celebrities that have been going to Turkey to get hair transplant recently. So Tracy McGrady is one of them. I've just seen on Now Hair Time that MMA fighter Francis Ngannou, he also had a hair transplant from them. He obviously is wealthy. He doesn't need to go to Turkey if he doesn't want to. He could have just got a hair transplant in the US. So why are all these like rich celebrities choosing to go to Turkey? I think one of the reasons is places like Now Hair Time, as well as other well-known hair clinics in Turkey, offer free hair transplant to these celebrities, because obviously it's great marketing for them. But at the same time, Turkey has been very well known over the last few years in particular for doing good work. You know, a lot of people have been getting like really good results from these hair transplant clinics in Turkey, especially people who have afro hair like me. That's one of the reasons why I chose to go to Turkey as well. And the cost is also another big reason. So not only are people getting great results, but it's also a lot cheaper than clinics in the US or places like the UK, for example. Also, with hair transplant clinics in the US and the UK and other Western countries, they're very stingy with their grafts. You know, they don't really take out too many grafts. So for example, if you're like a Norwood 4 and you need like at least 4,000 grafts, they'll only give you around 2,000 grafts. And obviously that's just not going to be enough. So that person will end up needing to get another procedure, and they're expensive as well. Like they start from around $15,000 and they go up to around $25,000 or $30,000 depending on how many grafts you need. So yeah, it's expensive. You might end up paying like $30,000 to $50,000 for 2 procedures. You know, that's another reason why people end up just going to Turkey, because if you end up needing more than 1 procedure in Turkey, it's still going to cost you like around $10,000 or less than $10,000 in total. You know, so it's still a lot cheaper. Like I remember I saw one guy from the US. He went to get a procedure done in the US, obviously, and he went to a well-known surgeon called Dr. Deep, and he had his procedure done, and I think he was only like a Norwood 3, maybe Norwood 3.5 or something like that, so he didn't need many grafts. But yeah, he had his first procedure done, and he needed a second one. Like he paid something like $15,000 and he still needed like a second procedure after that. And like a year or 2 later, he ended up going back to Dr. Deep and got his second procedure done. But his density is still not all the way there, so he's still talking about, like the last one of his videos that I saw on his channel, he was talking about going back for a third one. And yeah, like it's crazy how much money he must have spent just to get those hair transplants. You know, it's he might as well have just gone to Turkey. Even with 2 hair transplants, he could have saved like a lot of money, and he would have gotten most likely a great results. The problem is with Turkey, it's like with the Wild Wild West. There are so many clinics out there, it's kind of hard to choose which one is going to be the best for you. Like you can't just automatically go to the cheapest one, because that might be end up being the worst one. So you really have to do your research. And personally, like I don't really recommend any clinics in particular, not even the one that I went to. Like I just recommend that people just do as much research as possible and just choose the one clinic that's going to be best for them, because we're all different. You know, our hairs are all different density, different hair types, etc. So what might be a really good clinic for me might not be a good clinic for you. So you just have to really do your research to enable you to really know which clinic is good for you, and then just do that, just choose the right clinic. So after seeing this T-Mac post this morning, I thought he had his hair transplant there recently, like within the last few days or something. But after going on the Now Hair Time YouTube channel, I realised that he actually had his hair transplant done around 8 months ago. So we can actually have a look at to see like what his results look like now. So I'm just looking on T-Mac's Instagram account now, and this is his most recent post. And I'm assuming, so this is 8 months post-procedure. So 8 months, like personally, after I had my hair transplant, by the 8th month mark, I saw my final results. Like I didn't really see any more progress after the 8th month mark, to be honest. So, you know, for most people who I've seen get hair transplants, like I've seen them getting their final results between month 8 and month 10. Some people can take a bit longer, it can take up to 12 months. For some people it will take more than a year, like 13 months, 14 months, you know, a year and a half tops. But yeah, most people who I've seen, they'll tend to get their final results between month 8 and month 10 in terms of like overall density. So looking at these photos of T-Mac, from a distance he looks good. Like you can see like the hairline is defined and it's looking good. From the side you can see that, you can see the back and you can see that he hasn't been over harvested, so that's a really good sign. And then close up, you can see that, you know, the density overall isn't great. And I thought it would be better than this, just because even though T-Mac was losing his hair at the front, he still had hair there, but he was just like diffused thinning. So when they added more hair to it during the hair transplant, I thought that it would come back thicker than this. I thought it would look more dense than it does, to be honest. So I'm a little bit surprised that you can see like the density is a little bit low. He is at month 8, but like I said, I don't think he's going to see like much more improvement beyond this, to be honest. I think this is close to his final results. And by the way, this is like very common with the hair transplants. Like most people will need like more than one hair transplant. So for example, with me, if I was to shave my hair down to the same length as T-Mac over here, you'll be able to see like a difference between my transplanted area and the non-transplanted area. Like the non-transplanted area will be like more dense than my transplanted area. And that's just normal, because a hair transplant, they can't replicate the same density as your normal hair, because with a hair transplant, they can't replicate the same density with just one hair transplant of what your hair used to look like, you know what I mean? It's just not realistic. That's why a lot of people, if they want to wear their hair short, like T-Mac for example, they'll need more than one procedure. So that's very, very common, and it's something that you should be aware of in case you are looking to get a hair transplant and you want to wear your hair short afterwards. Obviously, if you want to grow your hair longer and you have afro hair like me, like when you grow it out, it's going to look great. But yeah, like I said, if you want to wear short hair, you may need like a second procedure just to add some more hair grafts, just to add some more density. And that is something that T-Mac can do as well if he wants to. Like I said, he hasn't been over harvested or anything like that, so he still has enough hair on the back of his head to get another like smaller procedure just to fill in the gaps in the front. Or he could go down the SMP route as well. So even though he has decent coverage already, like he could go and get an SMP, which is like a hair tattoo, and it would increase the look of density on his hairline. And I've just found this video of Tracy McGrady when he went on the Kevin Garnett podcast called KG Certified, and I've just taken a couple of snapshots of what his hair looks like in that video. So this would have been about a month ago or 3 weeks ago, so it would have been at around month 7. And you can see what I was talking about earlier, like overall his hairline looks good. Good coverage and everything. The shape of the hairline looks good, it suits his face. When he had the procedure, he didn't get his temples done, but he didn't really need his temples done. Like not everyone does, like some people do, some people don't. I personally did get my temples done, as you can see, because I needed to. Like my temples, they were like receding, they were like heading in this direction here, so I needed to get all this filled in. But Tracy McGrady didn't, and he only had, you know, the hairline done here and his mid scalp as well. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, from these photos you can see that his coverage is good, it's just his density is lacking a little bit. But like I said, that's very, very common with a hair transplant, especially with people with afro hair. The failure rate is a little bit high with us because the procedure is more difficult with people with afro hair, because it's hard to extract the hair follicle when when it's really curly, because it just doesn't curl on the outside, it curls underneath the skin as well. So when you're trying to extract that hair graft, it's difficult to do so without actually damaging it. So, you know, that's one of the reasons why, you know, you need to really see a specialist if you have afro hair. With T-Mac, I would say that he could go for a second procedure just to add some more density, and he'd be good after that. And speaking of T-Mac, actually, there's another basketball player. He's actually a professional slam dunker by the name of Chris Staples, and he's won like multiple slam dunk contests around the world and stuff. He's like really good at dunking, and he's known for wearing a hat all the time. Like every time you see him, like you never really see him without a hat. He always wore a cap. I saw a couple of rare photos of him or videos of him without a cap, and I could see why, because his hairline was like very like receded. It's like similar to how mine was, you know, before I had my hair transplant. But recently I saw some of his new videos and he wasn't wearing a cap anymore. And I noticed that he had a much improved hairline, and I was like, wow, he must have gotten a hair transplant. And I'm not sure where exactly he went, whether he went somewhere in the US or in Turkey, but he definitely had a hair transplant. And I'll just show you this photo that I saw on his Instagram, and it just demonstrates what I was saying earlier about T-Mac. Like you can see that he was lacking in density. Well, it's the same thing with Chris Staples. Like when you have short hair after a hair transplant, you're going to be able to notice the difference between your original hair and your transplanted hair, because the density just isn't going to be as good from one hair transplant. That's why like I was saying earlier, it's beneficial for most people to get more than one procedure. Like you'll get a good overall coverage from one hair transplant, but to get that full density that most people are looking for, you know, when they're wearing short hairstyle, they'll most likely need another procedure, like another smaller touch-up procedure, just to fill in those weaker areas. Like if I was to shave my hair now, it would probably look something similar to what T-Mac and Chris Staple looks like now. So I would probably need like another procedure, but because I never, you know, it's not really my style. I never really liked wearing a short hairstyle, so I don't really need it, because I'm just gonna wear this, you know, hairstyle probably for the rest of my life, because this is how I like it. It just suits me better than a short hairstyle used to suit me. But with longer hair, you can see it just looks really full and really dense. Like there's no issues, there's no gaps, there's just nothing there. It just looks perfect. So but yeah, like if you want to wear short hairstyle after a hair transplant, you may need to get another procedure or get SMP just to make the density look better. But yeah guys, that was just my quick reaction on Tracy McGrady getting a hair transplant in Turkey. I'm currently back in Southeast Asia. I'm in Manila in the Philippines again. I was here 7 months ago, and then I just spent the last 7 months in South America. But yeah, I might do like a little vlog just to show you around the city later on. I might try and get like a new camera as well, like one of those like GoPros or something, and just do like a little vlog or something. But anyway, if you have any comments, questions, drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.